I think that we're going to do a lot of things differently than we have. We won't be so warrior-like. It may not show up right now, but I think it's coming. It's a part of the changes that will come in when, it all takes time and things have to kind of, I usually say snap, crackle, pop before it happens. But, I've been around long enough I can look back a fairly long ways now and remember like the 40s and things like that and the concept that people had at that time and kind of recognize how these changes have slowly come about. No, we're not perfect now, but the changes in how we deal with each other and in the world have done a huge big turn. And everybody's got a different idea about how it should be. And to me, it just kind of is. I'll have what I call a gut feeling. And when I know that, if I follow that, it's usually the right thing. There have been many times in my life when I didn't. And I feel that I've always paid the price. When I heard it, I knew it. It just said, this is it. And I would go merrily on my way. I don't do that so much anymore as I used.
Question.
I learned.
You don't question it?
Not as much. And all of a sudden, you get it, that, this is important, what you're hearing. And pay attention, because it's a guideline for you to follow. I don't study it like some people do. I just figure it's on the way. We can't escape it. It'll be what it'll be. And if we're afraid of it, that's what we'll experience. And if we look forward to it and look for the good that it will bring, I think that's what we'll experience too. So, and when we live in that negative, what I call below the belt mentality, afraid of everything and not willing to look at the new things that are out here for us, we bring it to ourselves more and more. And it takes a little work to practice the new way, to think differently, to keep ourselves in that mental space where, like a lot of things I've noticed, we'll think we did a whoops of something, and I can't think of a good illustration right now, but it happens to all of us repeatedly. But what happens is the whoops isn't really a whoops. It turns out to be the very best thing that could have happened at that time. And so, I just think if we can get our mindset straight, we can have a lot more smooth roads than we ever dreamed of. I just figure everything's a learning tool. Everything that comes up, every experience that we had, there's something there to learn. And sometimes it's traumatic for us. And you wonder why. Everybody wonders why. So I guess it's just part of the plan that's here. And sometimes I wonder if it isn't to bring people together more, if we don't get so scattered and so thoughtless about our friends and our communities and things like that, that we just need the big shake-up. In spiritual response therapy, we would call it a spiritual kick. In the real world, it comes in more traumatic manners, but we get those things.
One of the about that.
It has to open our hearts to do things. And it's sad to me that we wait. We get so busy with our own life and our own selves and our own family that we don't really open our hearts to others in ways that we could. It's a sad part of the world around us today, the way we live, because, again, I can remember when I was smaller and how the people of the community would come together for things more. And maybe, I don't think they do that anymore, though, like they used to. People work different than they did then. People drive out of town for jobs that they didn't used to. Time changed for everybody. I know the clock is the same as it goes around, but time for us to do things that we used to consider really important just kind of leaves when everybody works in a different direction. Okay, if you look back in history, haven't all the times been chaotic in their own way? I used to hear my grandpa, who was little, talk about the Civil War. And the Civil War to me was like light years before my time. But he was a little boy then. But I think people have always looked at it as tough times. It's just an evolutionary change that happens. And if we're the ones that are here experiencing it, then it's the tough time. Things aren't so happy as we wish they were always. That's just my take on it. And that's kind of a study too, to learn to shift those thoughts, because the thought that we hear mostly when we're out is how bad things are. And sometimes I get a little edgy about how the news media continually talks about the economy and, things are going down the tube. And it's like, if we could just look at this as a change in the whole process of whatever's going on, maybe we wouldn't be so frantic about it. And there have always been people that were hurting. I just ask to be given the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to find the truth in all this. And when I say I ask my angels and what I call my unseen helpers to just give me a boost in this direction. I also ask for things to read and know that will be helpful. And sometimes it's just a simple verse in the Bible. I would just tell people to read and study the things that are available out there. I am fussy about who I go to learn. I'm picky about my instructors and who I've gone to. I do inner dowsing a lot like that. I listen and feel it. But I also dowse, and most everybody that knows me knows I do, and I will use that method to see what I'm supposed to do. And if all else fails and I really can't make up my mind, I have those teachers that I can go to and ask, just discuss the situations and see what seems like the right thing to make up my mind. You need those people. And you need to be able to call them and knock things around with them, get a different perspective on what's going on.